Hey everyone, my name's Nathan,
And my name is Rachel.
and welcome back to Project Nerd, where nearly everything is reviewed and discussed. Today, we're going to be discussing the live-action Jungle Book and putting it on trial as to whether or not it should be allowed to continue to exist. But before we get into that, be sure to follow our parent company, Creator Source Studios, to see all the other projects we're working on outside of Project Nerd. Now, where do we want to start with the Jungle Book? Would you like to make some opening remarks?
Sure, I can make a couple opening remarks. I was never, as a kid, I was a huge Disney nut. I'm still a pretty big Disney nut. I was never super into Jungle Book. That was not one of the movies that I would watch, over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
But holy God, I love this movie. This movie is so good. There is so much that I like about it, and comparing it to the original, I think this is probably one of the best remakes that I've seen so far, and I'm so afraid that it's just going to go all downhill for me. It's
Yeah,
just going to be downhill from here.
I'm pretty confident
But for
it's just going to
now,
be downhill.
I feel like we're at a high point with this movie.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I was very surprised. Prior to watching all of these to review them, the only ones I hadn't seen were Cinderella, Jungle Book. I had seen Beauty and the Beast. I had seen Aladdin. And I also haven't seen Dumbo or The Lion King. And I'm really confident that these two are the only two that I'm going to like. Because Beauty and the Beast is very much like on the fence for me between like I like this and I don't like this. And then we get to Aladdin and I'm like, I don't like this at all. This is not very good. So, but yes, I really do think this is an excellent movie. It gives substance to a movie that really didn't have a lot to begin with, despite having, some cute characters. And
yeah, one thing that I never really felt like I noticed when obviously as a child when you're watching Disney movies, but then if you go back and watch them as an adult, you don't notice, like, I guess just how little is there in terms of characters and story, and it's all very base level. And I feel like what these remakes are doing, and when they can do it well, is they expand so much more on the depth of the story and the personalities of the characters. I feel like that's something that this movie does exceptionally well. And I know that we talked about this a lot when we were doing Cinderella, and if you guys haven't seen that video, definitely go check it out. I just think that there's so much more substance to this film than the original, and I feel like that makes a world of difference, especially when you watch them back to back like I did to prepare for this video.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start. I don't know. Where do we want to particularly start? Because I want to start with the plot, but the plot is the same. It's not really.
There are a few.
There are a couple of
sort of
minor
key
differences. I think they're pretty minor, though. They're not like anything massive.
I don't know. In the original, it sort of follows the same pace up to a point, because
up until the end. The end is completely different.
Up until a point, because the point is, that Shere Khan is after Mowgli, the man cub, so he needs to leave and go to the man village, and essentially beat for beat, not necessarily in the same order, but you're still hitting all of the marks as Bagheera is taking Mowgli back to the man village. You meet Baloo, you meet King Louie, you meet Kaa, so all of that stuff sort of happens. But then the end is the real kicker.
Different.
The end is the real kicker, because he doesn't go to the man village. He goes back.
Right.
And I feel like that's a key difference that, in my opinion, almost makes this movie. Yes, I was trying to figure out, like, what I was feeling as I was watching the original, and you're absolutely right. It's like a road trip movie. They're
Yes.
just walking through the jungle, and as they're going on this little trip, they're meeting all these different characters, all these different little quirky characters,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Just
So
kidnapped by
that's
an army of fucking monkeys. That's fun.
yeah, it's like that's exactly what it feels like.
Yeah.
And this, it feels like it all connects.
For the
It
most
does
part, at least.
because he's starts out leaving with Bagheera, and then Shere Khan attacks Bagheera, so he has to run, and
Mm-hmm.
then he ends up lost in the woods by himself, and then he meets Kaa, and then Baloo rescues him from Kaa, and then he's with Baloo for a little bit, and then Bagheera finds him again, and it's just like it's sort of it definitely flows a lot better.
Yeah. Shere Khan. Let's talk about Shere Khan for a
Let's
minute.
talk about Shere Khan.
Holy shit.
Wow. Wow. That's all I have to say about that. I mean, first of all, I love Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
love him as an actor. I think he's great in most roles that he is in, even if they are just small. I really liked him as Heimdall in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I watched that stupid Pacific Rim movie about the giant robots fighting the giant monsters, and he was the only good part about that movie. He gave a baller speech at the end, and then he died, and it was classic. But he does so good
mm-hmm.
in this movie. His voice just sounds menacing.
Mm-hmm.
Like he walked in and he said those first few lines, and I was like, okay, it's about to go down.
mm-hmm.
Like, this is not somebody that you want to mess with. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'll use this even to praise all of the voice actors in this movie because it's so hard to convey all that through just using your voice.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I think everybody did a really good job, but Idris Elba especially.
Yes, I would agree. Um, I thought I was watching this movie and I was also like doing something else at the same time. I was playing a game or something, I don't remember. But I remember I wasn't really paying attention. Like I saw him like sulk down off the rock and drink the water
Mm-hmm.
and like threaten Mowgli and be like, once this water comes back, like I'ma get you.
I'm gonna
Um,
get you.
and then he shows up to the wolf village and just
Mm-hmm.
murders the leader and throws him off a cliff. And I was like,
Yes,
oh, so
like
that's what we're doing.
murders Aquila,
Yes.
and you just like,
It's not
oh
even, they don't even try to like beat around the bush. He throws him off a
no,
freaking cliff.
he throws him off a cliff.
I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I can get behind this. We talked about Shere Khan. We kind of talked
Moving on
about
to other
Rocky.
characters,
Yeah. I guess we should
I
talk
think.
about Baloo and then Mowgli because
Baloo.
there's only one other character outside of that that I really want to talk about, and we're gonna rip into him a little
Mm-hmm.
bit later. Um,
Yeah.
let's talk about Bill Murray as Baloo. This is
Oh,
perfect. I love this so much.
absolutely perfect. Spot on casting. Okay.
I would like to bring to light the fact that we've quoted to each other the endangered species line at least 3 or 4
Yes.
times in preparation
Yes.
for this
In
video.
preparation for this video, we just that line is
You have
absolutely
never been
perfect.
a more endangered species than you are at this moment. But he talks about Bill Murray singing as Baloo and the fact that it's obviously not like perfect singing. He's not a trained singer, but like that's what
Mm-hmm.
sells it.
But it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You
because
just you're
Baloo,
watching it and you don't care because it just
right?
sounds fun.
He's a bear. He's just having a good time. He's not meant to be
Mm-hmm.
like it's diegetic. It's a diegetic song. He's singing to himself. It's
Right.
not meant to be like a
Yeah.
musical number, which is really nice. Mowgli's
Mm-hmm.
he's fine. I didn't hate him, and for a child actor, that's good. He
Yeah.
wasn't
I
like
mean, I think I mean, yeah, for I mean, this little kid. I mean, I feel like sometimes people will watch this movie and they'll underestimate, I guess, everything that this kid did in
mhm,
this movie. I mean, he is literally acting by
by
himself.
himself. Yeah.
By himself. None of the other characters are around him. They're all CGI. So he's acting by himself to these they probably had. I watched a video about the behind the scenes. They have like the heads on sticks or
Mhm.
on people,
Yeah.
and he's acting with no one. He's
Mhm.
just acting with himself, but he does it really, really well,
Mhm.
I think.
Yeah, and
So I just had to give like a little shout out to that because that's got to be insanely hard.
mhm. Yeah, I thought he did a really excellent job, especially with a character that doesn't have a whole lot of character to begin with in the original. And
Hmm.
then, everything they gave him, I thought he did a really good job.
Yeah, I liked the arc of him using the tricks
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the man tools because it kind of gave a little credence to the fact that he was going to leave,
Mhm.
because it's like, oh, well, not everyone really likes him.
Yeah.
I
I
mean, I
I think
think they all look amazing.
at, at
I
very
think they all
least
look really good.
they're very detailed and they don't look
Hmm.
bad.
Yeah. And now, yeah, but I thought the facial expressions were enough.
Mhm.
I think combined with the vocal performances, which were
Mhm.
obviously very sort of exaggerated
Right.
because because I think they knew that they couldn't do a whole lot with facial expressions without making it look less
Goofy.
lifelike
Yeah.
and more goofy. So combined with the facial expressions and the vocal performances from the actors, I think it works really well. And for the most part, whenever the animals are talking, it's kind of like a wide shot.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you're never really super close to their face. So then it's like you can kind of portray um how they're feeling. I was noticing like furrowing of brows and ears going back and
Mhm. Yeah.
hackles coming up and things like that to sort of get across what the base emotion is. And then the voices just fill in the rest.
Right. Yeah. And that's my biggest gripe with this movie is King Louie. Because King Louie in the original, he's voiced by Louis Prima, who was
Mm-hmm.
he was a music. There were actually a lot of musical people that were going to be in the original Jungle Book. Louis Prima was King Louie, and actually the Vultures, the song that you said you skipped, that was originally going to be the Beatles. That's why all those vultures look like the
Right. I
Beatles.
could tell that they
Yeah,
looked like the Beatles. I'm glad they didn't include those characters in this. I'm glad that they kind of chose
the
not to.
vultures are there. They
They're there. You
they're
see vultures,
yeah.
but like
I
they don't
think we're
talk. They have no lines. They
yeah.
just fly
I think
around.
we should coin a new term here. We're gonna call it the Dawn Patrol treatment. The vultures get the Dawn Patrol treatment in that
Yeah.
they show up, they have no lines, but
Hmm.
they are there to be like, hey, you remember this from the original movie? The vultures used to have a song. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, like you said, a lot of the characters like Ka and King Louie still do at least reference their songs if they don't sing them. Like
Hmm.
Ka references her song, and then actually, I do want to talk about the credits here in a minute. In the credits, we do hear Scarlett Johansson sing "Trust in Me," which is something else.
Really? I didn't watch
That's
the
something no,
credits.
that's something else I want to talk about because it's interesting. We're gonna talk about the end credits because I have never seen end credits that I was just like, I love this so much. It's so cute. Um, but anyway, she sings that over like after the mid credits. This would be after like the mid credit scene of a Marvel film. It's like
Hmm.
there's like silhouettes of like scenes from the movie and like things that and Scarlett Johansson is singing "Trust in Me" the entire song. Um, and the problem I have with it is it feels like I'm watching the opening to a James Bond movie because they're all these dark silhouettes and they're moving very
Right.
slowly,
Right.
and she's singing this. She sounds like a lounge singer, and she's singing "Trust in
Hmm.
Me," and it's weird, and I particularly don't like her rendition of it.
Hmm.
But now that we're we're in end credits territory, let's talk about the end credits. So Mowgli returns to the wolf. What is it, like a mud mound? It's not very pretty. It's like a mound full, it's like a mound of rocks and mud. that they live on.
Yeah.
And he climbs up into a tree with Bagheera, and Baloo climbs up into the tree, and he's like, "Please tell me we're not getting down," because he's tired. And then it, like, the camera kind of pulls back, and then it turns into an illustration of the character,
Yes.
and the book shuts, and it's the same book from the original. And I just about lost my mind because I was like, "Oh my god,
It's
so
so
it's
good.
so great!" And then I forget what song starts to play. It might be like an actual decent sounding version of "I Want to Be Like You," but you see the book start to like jump with the beat, and it flips back open, and they do
Yeah.
illustrated versions that look like the Rudyard Kipling illustrations from the original book. Um, they do illustrated versions of the characters with the actors. I really like that. And then they do this thing where the book flips pages and it's little like vignettes of the characters.